Hi, I'm Allison. Today I will be discussing Chapter 3 and Chapter 8 in the Rhetoric Acts and a few essays from Rhetoric Acts in popular culture. So, in Chapter 3, it discusses crafting your rhetoric act and how to craft it. And for steps, they would say to speak on subjects that you know best and that you have researched well in. Also, know your audience and know who you are directing everything towards, because that way you can construct a better essay that really motivates and influences people. Then you also have to really practice and just kind of know your concept inside out. That way you kind of seem like a professional, and then practicing just so that you can seem like you know everything and that you know all the questions that could potentially arise. Then the next thing is don't memorize. Memorizing is super stiff, and it also in a way shows that you don't necessarily know your concept as well as you potentially could. So by not memorizing and just knowing how to answer things from the top of your head is definitely a way to show professionalism and to show your expertise on the subject. And to also just use, when speaking, definitely use motions, because that way it can engage your audience and make sure that they aren't always just like hearing your voice and not anything else. And also, it's important to stay positive on your subject and not to be a Debbie Downer or depressing on it, just so that your audience won't feel the bad emotions. And for Chapter 8, it discusses challenges arising from the audience. And then there are many different audiences, and there are 4 different audiences. So the first audience would be the empirical audience, and it's an audience that is exposed to the rhetoric acts and they're face to face with the rhetoric acts. The second one would be your target audience, is just because realistically and in the real world, there's no way to truthfully target just one audience. So it's always important to know that there are different audiences, and then certain words can target certain audiences. Then the next one would be the agents of change. So it would be an audience that has the capacity to, or an audience that you can market to. So if they're willing to buy something, or they're willing to listen to your cause and potentially like become a social reformer for that cause, those are another type of audience. Then the next one and last one would be the created audience. So it's an audience that is of them being very involved in your rhetoric act, and definitely being able to play as roles in your rhetoric act would help engage the audience and just create a influential meaning to the audience. Moving on to the essays that we had to analyze, Saval's essay was very targeted towards technology and modern day technology, and he also likes to discuss how that technology is a potential for separation amongst people. And I believe that his targeted audience would be the modern day society, because modern day society uses technology the most now, and technology is the most advanced right now. For Postman, his article talked about Thamus, which is an Egyptian legend, and he discusses the backstory of it and just also tries to connect how Thamus thought that writing was a burden to society, and he can see how technology could potentially be a burden to society as well. I believe that his targeted audience was also on modern day people and just people who have been relying on technology a lot. For Sharkey, he also talks about technology, and it's kind of how he discusses how technology and everything really has become so advanced because people stop being collective benders. And so for his audience, I would say it's for people who participate in new technology. So again, modern day society. Then Blair discusses about online dating and how online dating is often seen as you will find love with whoever is close to you, whoever is nearby to you. And he did use a lot of popular dating apps as reference, and I would say that his audience would be targeted towards people who use online dating platforms.